So can you really start photography in 2025 without spending a fortune? Absolutely, my friend, and I'll prove it. You see, finding the perfect beginner gear can feel impossible. I mean, there's so many options out there, some fantastic and some not so good. So where do you even start? Well, my friend, you're at the exact right place. I've been doing photography for almost a decade and been reviewing cameras professionally for years. And in this video, my friend, I'm going to show you the exact gear I would choose if I were to start on a budget today. All right, my friend, so let's start with the first thing that is without a doubt the most important factor, and that's the camera. Because let's face it, without the camera, you kind of, not taking any photos. Anyway, since this is a budget video, then there is one specific camera that I would highly recommend. However, I'll also have two different options for you depending on your budget. We can go even more budget, you understand? But the camera that I would recommend is of course the good old Sony a6400. Now this camera is a few years old. It's equipped with a 24.2 megapixel APS-C sensor. It can film 4K footage up to 30 frames per second and 120 frames per second in full HD. So you can get some pretty nice slow motion footage with it. Now it's not perfect. I'll tell you the bad things about it in a second, but for the money and the size and what it can do, then I think this is a pretty good option. Especially, you can find it on the second-hand market for a pretty decent price. Now, as you can see, it is small, it is highly compact, and it's super easy to carry with you at all times. I've taken some of my best photos to this day that I sell as print worldwide on this little device. I have a strong emotional connection to it because kind of all this entire channel, the foundation of it, was filmed on this camera. So using it for both filming and photography is something that I enjoyed a lot. Then it is a nice hybrid camera. I mean, whether you're into photos or videos or both, then this is a nice little option. Now also, if you're into content creation, then it does have a flip up screen that goes all the way up here, which is, I mean, pretty nice because this means that when we are vlogging or filming ourselves, then I can see myself what I'm doing. And then I can think about the frame a little bit. And I do enjoy that a ton. Also, you have a viewfinder, which you don't have on the ZVE cameras. And that I like for photos. Maybe I'm just old school and I just don't want to look at the screen, but there is a feeling I get when I'm like lining up a photo that I like absolutely love, I can say, but I really like it. It's a nice little feeling. Now, where I think it falls short is that, I mean, you're limited to 8-bit color. So color grading is not the easiest or the most enjoyable with this camera, but since you're a beginner, that's why you're watching this video, then I don't think that should be anything that should stop you, especially if you find this on a good deal on the second-hand market. Then it's also like suffers quite a lot from rolling shutter. Other than that, it is so robust. I'm not even like, I've dropped it so many times in my life. It's been with me to freezing conditions and tropical conditions, and I've hammered on it for years and it still works fine. I mean, I really have very few complaints about it. Sure, of course, I would like it to be better, but then again, I just have to buy something more expensive. So for what it is, then I think it's really nice. Now, if you are looking for something a little bit more budget, then you can pick up the a6300. This is kind of the same camera. This is a previous model. They say that the color science is a little bit better on this one. I'm not sure. I cannot really see the difference if you show me footage side by side because this one has the exact same sensor. So it's the same sensor on both cameras. The biggest difference, in my opinion, is the fact that you can only lift this screen up like this. And that means that you cannot see yourself when you're vlogging. So you kind of have to guess. But this is definitely something to consider. And if you want to go even a little bit more budget, then the a6000 is also the same sensor. However, the a6000 can only film full HD and not 4K. So if you want to film, then the choice would definitely be between these two cameras. And I've always thought that out of the entire like Sony a6000 APS-C lineup, then the a6400 still to this day is the sweet spot for when it comes to like the price and what it can do. Of course, if you have more money, then you can buy the a6700, which is a fantastic APS-C camera, but this is an absolute budget video. So then this would be my recommendation. All right, so next up is also a very important thing, and that would be the lens. Now, the biggest tip I can give you when you're gonna like buy your first gear is that I personally would much rather buy a cheaper camera and a more expensive lens than the other way around. And when it comes to lenses, you kind of have two choices. You can either use a prime lens or a zoom lens. A prime lens is a lens that has a fixed focal length. For instance, here I'm holding the Sigma 60mm f1.4. I'm not able to zoom with it. I'm not able to change focal lengths. It's stuck at 16mm. While here, I have the Sony 16 to 55mm f2.8. This one I can zoom with, so I can go from 60mm to 55mm. The biggest difference is that prime lenses, they tend to be a little bit sharper, have a little bit better like quality, and you can also like have lower f-stop. They almost always have that compared to zoom lenses, which tend to have little bit less quality, and usually like this f2.8, while here is f1.8. Now personally, if you ask me, when it comes to like picking your first camera setup, then I would go for a zoom lens. I'm a huge fan of zoom lenses. I know not everybody agrees with me here, but I like it a ton because I'm so much in a run and gun environment. I'm constantly outside taking photos or in the city taking photos, and I don't want to change lenses all the time. Now I own a bunch of prime lenses because there is a time for it, and it is like a good argument can be made that if you pick a 35mm and just learn it, then you understand what the 35mm looks like. And the same with the 50mm and all that. Now you could go with a kit lens. That's usually like a lens that comes with a camera or you can buy together with a camera. In my experience, they kind of like suck. So we want to like set you up to have a little bit better quality. So like don't pick this kit lens, okay? Buy the camera, this A6400 on the second-hand market without the kit lens. Then my friend, I would recommend that you get the Sigma 16 to 50mm f2.8. It's a small lens. It's absolutely fantastic. I really like what it can do. The quality is good. It's tiny. You can go down to f2.8. And it just makes this camera super versatile. If you have a little bit extra money and you want to get one more glass, as well, glass, if you're totally new, it's like what we call lenses, you know, because it's glass, then I would highly recommend that you either get the Sigma 10 to 80mm f2.8, then you have a versatile wide angle lens, like a super wide angle. Very nice if you like that wide angle look, or you want to vlog with it. Super, super good there. Or I would go for the Sony 70 to 350mm, because that is also a tiny like zoom lens, and it's insane how much it can do. Like the focal length that you have vary so much, and the zoom range of it is just insane. I've owned that lens, and I don't own it at the moment. I sold it not that long ago because I wasn't using it that much, but it's a great lens. So those three would 100% be my choices. If you have all of them, you're covered from a massive focal length range, and you can really like photograph whatever you want. And if you can only pick one, then in my personal preference, it would be the Sigma 16 to 50mm, and then I would pick and choose whether I want a like ultra wide angle or a zoom lens or maybe both. Now honestly, with just the camera and the lens, you're kind of good to go. However, there are a few things that you could add to your kit to make it even better, and something that I would recommend. Now, the first thing that I would highly recommend you getting, because we are talking about the Sony APS-C camera of the old school versions, the A6400 and stuff like that, then my friend, I would 100% like recommend you to get a ton of these batteries here. The small Sony cameras, the A6400, 300, and A6000, they're equipped with these small batteries right here. These kind of suck. It's just how it is. So get a few of them, like 3, 4, 5, and just keep them with you at all times, because these don't last that long. So that is like, I mean, I promise you, you're going to be grateful if you have many of these, okay? Now, next thing on the list, something that I would definitely consider buying would be a tripod. It's not needed. You can, of course, go full handheld, but having a tripod can be really nice in many situations, especially if you want to take like long exposure shots, you want to do astrophotography, or you just want to film yourself like I'm doing right now, then a tripod is like really nice. Plus, I mean, I shoot like 90% of my photos handheld, so I'm not like trying to get you to go on the tripod train, but when I use a tripod, man, I mean, the sharpness of the photos, you can't compete with it. Now, personally, I do have a pretty like expensive carbon fiber travel tripod from Peak Design. It is not budget at all, so I cannot really recommend it. Now, I did ask in my community, the darkroom, I made a little post asking the guys like, hey, do you guys know any like cheap tripods for beginners that you can like vouch for and you've used? And I got so many different answers. So thank you all for those answers. Now, for instance, Philip, he said a Rollei C5i or C6i is the best bang for the buck you'll probably ever see. Then at least 2 other members talked about K and F tripods that they've used excessively. You can buy for like under 50 euros, and they highly recommended it to me. I'll take a list of all what the members are saying and put it in the description down below. And yeah, you can like look for yourself. These are some great like suggestions. Thank you for those, guys. And by the way, I run an online community for photographers who are interested in like developing their skill, becoming better at photography and editing, as well as learning the ins and outs of like content creation as a photographer and creating like a thriving business around it. Now, this is a paid community, but if you're interested to join, then we do have monthly photo challenges. We have weekly Q&As and hangout. This is a chance for you to connect directly with me, as well as quarterly lectures. You get access to all of my digital products and resources, my courses, and also just a chance to hang out with me ton. I mean, I'm in there like 2, 3, up to 4 hours a day. So if you ever wanted to not only connect with me personally and learn from me, but also join like a motivated community of like-minded photographers who are constantly trying to push themselves, then my friend, in the description there's a link where you can find a little bit about more what we are doing and what we are all about. Anyways, on to the next little thing that's on the list right here. All right, so the next thing on the list, and something that I tend to keep in my like camera bag at all times, is one of these little can I say that? It's one of these right here. Now this is like a dust blower. It's like really handy to have because you're constantly like changing lenses, or there's always something happening on the lens, and but just like flowing off a little bit while you're out there. Plus, because you don't want to get your dirty little fingers down in the sensor, then you're like doing one of these can really like take away that dust. So this is really nice to have too. Then another thing to keep in mind is to have some sort of filters. Now, polarizing filters, I don't really think that you need, or these UV filters, I don't even know what they do. But having a pair of anti-filters, especially for filming, can be really nice. Now, I have anti-filters from Nisi. These are like true color anti-filters. I'm not sponsored or anything. These, like, just enjoy them. You can either have variable LED filters. These basically, like, then you just put one and you can change the strength of it. The downside is that the quality tends to be a little bit less, and you can risk have those X patterns in them, or you can have just one that is like one stop and then changed. It's totally up to you. Personally, because I'm out in the run and gun environment all the time, I sacrifice quality for the convenience of having like it variable. And then one type of filter that I personally love and I use a ton is a mist filter. Now this here is a mist filter, and this entire video that you're looking at is filmed with a mist filter on. A mist filter is basically a filter that diffuses the highlights, make them bloom a little bit, and makes the overall footage a little bit softer. It's used to create more of that dreamy filmic look, and I'll show you. So this is with the mist filter, and this here is without it. It's not a huge difference, but if you look at the lights here, or even from the screen, then you will see like a difference. Look again. Mist filter is back on, and now you can see the lights. It blooms out a little bit. The highlights become really beautiful and pretty, in my opinion. So I like this a lot to take off the digital edge. Now this right here would be the gear that I would pick if I were starting photography on a budget in this day and age. However, the truth is that there are a lot of more Sony cameras out there. And before I would make up my mind, then I would definitely like check that out first, because maybe I find something that is better. So if you want to see what's, in my opinion, the best first Sony camera to buy in 2025, then next, my friend, you should watch this video right here.